So how has your trip been to Delhi so far?
Pretty good. I keep coming to Delhi. Our own headquarters are in Delhi. So I am in Delhi normally at least once a month, sometimes even more. My hometown is north of Delhi. So I've always been in and around Delhi.
And what do you expect from the launch of the Z2 in India? So you are definitely targeting the Diwali season.
Yeah, it has happened so. Actually, I would have loved to launch it earlier,
Okay.
but I think the timing is not bad. But with a product like this, any time is good time. Right? This is a phenomenal device. It is spectacular in the way what it does, how it handles things, and the overall experience that it will give consumers. I could have launched it in the last week of December also, and it would have done really well. But of course, now it helps a bit more. But the idea is to get it as early as possible, and that's what we were thinking.
So can we expect the Z2 Pro also?
Unfortunately, not. So while Z2 Pro is a stunning device, I would have loved to get that in. Even in our China team, they didn't really expect that kind of a response. They didn't plan for that volume, so they are almost running out of stock in China. Hence, there's nothing left. Even if I get it to India, I'll only get a few tens of thousands, which I don't think makes too much sense because consumers are not going to be very happy if they don't get it.
Indian consumers are a little bit demanding.
And if you get a good device, then if I want it, I should be able to buy it. And especially at this particular price, so Z2 Pro is obviously a more higher variant. That would have become even tougher because then they would have started the consumers that you talk to, the premium consumers at about 30,000. They expect to be able to buy a device when they want to. So you can't really keep them waiting. They become really important there.
How are you guys able to price it below 20k?
Okay.
Considering your competitors who started off over 20, then came around 23.
So largely economics. We have planned bigger on this, and hence we can go back to all our suppliers individually and negotiate a better price there. Second is this is a very important device for us, and we wanted to kind of get into the premium segment. So Z1 obviously is a mid-segment device. We wanted to get a little higher, and there again it was important to kind of get the pricing rights from our side. And the third aspect was our channel partners. For example, Amazon in this case. We are strategic partners as well. So they also work with us to enable a pricing that is actually feasible for the consumers.
And competitors for the Z2 right now in the market?
I don't think there is any competition. What we wanted to do was take away choices. At any given price point right now, there are so many choices and there's so much confusion that it becomes really hard to pick a phone. Unless you are someone who's really engaged into phones and you keep buying phones every month or 2 months, then it is fine. But for a regular consumer who wants a phone for a year and a half at least, it becomes very hard saying which phone do I get at which price point. And suppose you look at any given price point, there's so much competition. They're all good phones, right? I mean, from our perspective also, between 10 and 15, consumers get different options. There's a G4 Plus, there's a ZUK Z1, and there's a K5 Note now. Obviously, different propositions there, but there is still
competition.
Somewhat, yeah. It's a healthy competition to have, but different propositions, and people kind of choose which one. With this, what we wanted to do was take that. I mean, just make it really easy for people to choose, and it's a psychological price point. So we've taken 17,999 and 19,999. I think the 1999 variant makes a lot more sense because you've got more storage, you've got more multitasking capabilities with a larger RAM, and having it below 20 basically makes it easy for consumers, saying there is nothing else in and around it, so it just becomes easy to buy.
Talking about your similar phone under 20, that is the Vibe X3, so that is getting a price cut after
no,
launch?
So I cannot do a price cut actually. What we try and do is launch a phone at the best possible price we can, looking at the life cycle, how much we want to do, how long will the phone sell, and try and avoid all price drops. Right? Sometimes it's inevitable. For example, K4 Note,
K4 Note.
I had to drop the price down by 1,000, so it went from 11,999 to 10,999 because at 11,999 we had K5 Note coming in. Right? Again, what I could have otherwise done is the K5 Note could have been at 12,999, but then that wasn't the best price I could have given, and that doesn't really work. So I try and avoid doing price drops as much as possible and keep the same price. So X3 will stay at 19,999.
Competition to the Vive X2 indirectly.
Not really. So Z2, obviously it is a much more powerful device, but then X3 was always about the audio files. People who are listening to music, and when you're listening to high quality music and FLAC audio and things like that, that's where people see a difference between X3 and others. So that's not a normal device, right? So it's a very special device for those people who really care about music.
Talked about that in our presentation. How were you able to enable the whole Snapdragon 820 compared to other competitors?
So Snapdragon 820 is a very complex chip, right? So it's called a system on chip. So basically the entire system sits on that little small chip there, the 820 chip, and you've got different aspects to it. It's like if I'm buying a PC, obviously PC is much bigger, but then I can choose. I want a CPU. I want what kind of GPU. I put different cards. I mean earlier, during my time we used to put display cards and sound cards also.
Definitely.
Now display cards have become graphics cards. Sound cards people normally don't put right now. Then we used to have TV tuner cards and this and that. So making an entire system. 820 is almost like that, where it has multiple components, but in that very small package. I think it has close to about 4 to 5 billion transistors in that. So it's a very complex chip, and you can choose. So as an OEM, as someone who's making phones, you can go and choose which aspects of the 820 I want. Now 820 has CPU and GPU. So there's the 4 cryo cores and the Adreno 530. Now that is fine. Then you've got a DSP, right? It's Hexagon 680 is the official name. Internally it's called Spectra. Now that's for specialized tasks, like if you're listening to MP3 music, for photography, when you're doing image processing, there the Spectra ISP or the Hexagon 680 does a much better job there, right? So it doesn't have to go to the cryo cores, this can handle that. Not everyone needs it, so may or may not activate it. And the last one is the sensor processing unit. So CPU, GPU and the SPU. SPU is something that almost nobody does, because SPU means sensor processing unit. You need to have sensors in your phone, enough sensors, and you should have a use case for it. We thought because the Z2 was a one-handed device, it's quite compact. It still has a large 5-inch screen, but it could be used as a health device as well. So what we did was we put in sensors which are activity trackers, right? So there is a pedometer, so it tracks your steps. There's a gyroscope and accelerometer, which also tracks your speed. So if you're walking, if you're running, and that becomes a perfect activity tracker that's already in your phone. And for that, you need the SPU or the sensor processing unit. So that is a very low power unit, and it can work 24/7 with these sensors to detect what are you doing and how vigorously are you doing that. So if you're running, if you're walking, it can track all of that. So this is something that people don't really activate because they don't have all those sensors and they don't have application. We have those sensors and we have a U-Health application, so it just makes perfect sense.
ZUK Z2 has been in the world for about 3 months now.
About 3 months.
And how different is the Indian unit from the Chinese unit?
So Indian unit has a lot of improvements on the software side. So we've been, since it was launched in China, I think it went on sale around the first week of June. Since then we've been optimizing and we've been testing the network as well. So it's been optimized for the Indian networks, it's been optimized for VoLTE to work with the Reliance Jio SIMs.
And both the SIMs or the only single SIM?
So the VoLTE will work on SIM 1, but both SIMs are 4G.
Both SIMs are 4G. That's nice.
So you can have that. Along with that, apart from that, I don't know if you can see this, but we've kind of made a Google launcher. So you've got that part. So it's overall a lot more lighter UI and a lot more speedier, yet retaining the core elements that we thought were really good.
and on-screen keys as well. I saw it in
On-screen
the
keys
demo.
also. So it's pretty easy to kind of have the on-screen keys. Let me put that up, and I switch them on, and I've got the on-screen keys. So yeah, I mean it's for everyone. We basically optimized it for Indian consumers because over the last 3 years that we've been selling phones in India, it's hard to believe it's only 3 years. We have learnt a lot from the consumers, and we keep kind of taking those inputs and putting that in the phones.
On that point of view, second, you have the second biggest manufacturer in India right now, smartphone. Congratulations on that. Only 3 years. Other brands have been in the market for a long time. They haven't reached there.
It's been a lot of hard work, and this part, the last part is probably the easiest because
The launch.
it's the launch. You just have to talk about the device, but the story actually has been built about 5-6 months ago, or even further, and that is the tougher part when you're choosing, and you have to make the right choices that time because now you can't do. When you're creating a device, what should a device have? Right? Does that make sense to launch? Does it make sense to consumers? And then, so obviously all the devices have to make sense at certain level to consumers, otherwise you shouldn't be launching that. But then on top of that, when you're bringing a device to India, it has to be further optimized because Indians, I think, are one of the most knowledgeable when it comes to technology, when it comes to devices. So you can't fool an Indian consumer.
Spec hungry.
Not just spec hungry, but they understand what works and what doesn't work and why they want it. So if they ask for a particular spec, there's a reason why they're asking for it, right? They might not put that up front, but there's a reason why they're kind of asking for what they're asking.
Which has been your Lenovo's only, not Motorola, including a best-selling phone so far this year.
So our highest volumes are normally from the K Note series. So they still continue to be the top sellers. So last year was K3 Note, this year K4 Note, K5 Note just started. Unfortunately, we are running short on supplies for that.
That's good actually.
It is good, but it's kind of also surprising. We didn't expect that. With K5 Note, we went open sale because we thought we had enough stock, but didn't really happen. So.
Nice. And this is regarding the 3GB RAM or the 4GB RAM variant?
Which one?
The K5, yeah.
So both are selling equal, 3 and 4. So there are people who want different things, so you get that. And that is one of the reasons why we've got both the 3 and the 4 for the Z2 as well. Because some people are just looking at basic performance, and the 3 is okay. But then there are some who are power users, right? So who want games, who want multitasking, who want to have all of that really quick, plus extra storage. So there the 64 becomes.
Some comments on the upcoming devices and Moto Z, Force, Z and Force.
So Moto Z or the whole Moto Mods family, that should be coming in for the holiday period. So pretty soon.
Holiday means next month.
Holiday means next month probably.
You had it over here.
Yeah.
And the Vive series is still alive, like the flagship, the X4.
So I can't really comment about that right now, but when time comes, we should be able to share more details.
Waiting. Already know about the Z2 Pro, so it's not going to come to India anytime soon.
Z2 Pro will not come.
Never. Okay. And one of the most questions that I get is Z1 software update and your relations with Cyanogen now.
No, so the relationship with Cyanogen doesn't really change. At a personal level, at a partner level, it's still there. However, they have been facing some tough times. Every business goes through those cycles, and because of that, they seem to be kind of behind the schedule at the moment. However, that said, they're still working on an update for the Z1, so they've not stopped support. It's just that due to lack of resources, it's taking a little longer than what we had wanted. So we're still working with Cyanogen, and hopefully, they should be able to release something for the Z1. And I also hope that they kind of, get back into a revival mode because, frankly, right from 2010, 2011, I've always loved what Cyanogen has done. But yeah, it was a very fluid experience. So I'm hoping that they will kind of bounce back soon.
And was this the reason for the not considering Cyanogen for Z2?
Yeah, so Z2 is a very critical device for us. It's also priced higher, We expect the Z2 to sell a lot more than even Z1. And taking all of that into consideration, I think right now it was too risky to kind of choose Amazon as a partner for this one. We want to give the best possible experience to the consumers, and that basically meant we take control of the Android development of this, so that we know when the updates are coming, how, and we can constantly kind of take feedback from consumers and keep improving the software.
And unlocking the bootloader on this device, will it void the warranty or not?
It should not.
It should not. So this is official. I can unlock the bootloader. And so can we see a community build for this engine for this device?
I am not too sure, so that we'll have to see how that happens. But maybe I'm hoping we could. That's largely it.
Okay.
It's a good device, available starting Sunday night, Monday morning.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, fingers crossed. Let's see what it does.
No flash sales.
Correct. So that was a feedback that came in again, because it's a premium device. The consumers there, for example, if they're working, expecting them to come back at a particular time to buy it does not really happen. I mean, frankly, if you ask me, saying that have an appointment at 2 p.m. on a working day, there is about less than 1% chance that I'll be able to make it for that.
I have also missed a lot of devices buying because I was in college at that time.
Correct. So because of that, and it's a premium device, it just takes away from the experience, I thought, and hence we've actually. Now the other side is that we are getting in enough stocks to start with, so that we don't have to go into flash.
Both the colors and like 4 variants.
So there's be a white 332, 464, and there'll be a black 332, 464. So essentially 4 options to choose.
That is nice. Thank you very much for the interview.